In the previous session, we walked through the process of building a page whose contents had a frame around them. Here, I'd like to take that basic design and create a similar page. Now, most of my examples are from my 7+ years of being chairman of the Denver-Takayama Sister City Committee, including creating and maintaining supporting web pages. Here's the first page in a series that provides helpful hints for Americans who want to travel to Japan. You can see the structural similarities with the page from the previous session. The main difference is there's only one box in the left-hand column. Links have standard appearance, so there's no need for an A style rule. Pictures have borders and shadows to give them a richer look, and pictures are scattered left and right, text alongside. And the last updated info at the bottom is new. Let's see how we might create this page. There are several ways to go about constructing this page. Start from scratch and start keying code. Start from the previous page and modify it to get to the new page. Or start from scratch but cut and paste structural parts from the previous page. For demonstration purposes, I'll work with the third option. We start by copying the top lines up to the style element. And now, before we go any further, change the content of the title element to reflect this page's content. And save the file as tij.html, TIJ for Travels in Japan. And then we copy the style classes we know we'll need. Since the structure is like the framed page from the previous session, we know we'll need these classes for sure. Note the main heading is class heading -1-1, not heading -1. And here, I've also sorted the style rules this way. Style rules for elements, alphabetically by element name, followed by style rules for classes, alphabetically by class name. Now, we can copy large chunks of the body code. Let's take this much. And I'll change the P title here. Traveling in Japan. New line. Tips, hints, and resources. Next, we build our left-hand column. Now, for this page, we only have one box, so we copy and paste this way. We'll get the heading part like this. Put it over here. And then the resources part and the contact us part. And then the end of nav boxes and the beginning of the content. Now we have to go back in and change the details here on the content or the links on the top of the page there. We only have 2, so we'll fix those, and we'll explain some of this later on. This is Traveling in Japan homepage. And then frequently asked questions. And the link is FAQS. Facts. And then that's all we have in this first part. Like that. And then under resources, we have just 4 and Japan related links, Japanese cuisine, Japanese language. Okay, and I'm going to take off this letter S in all these. We'll talk about SHTML in the next lesson, actually. But for now, this will work. And I want to have the mail to actually be me at takayama.com. Okay, so that's a good start. Now, just to have something to show under the content column, I'll copy the heading line, which will be overview. And then, let's see, it's actually heading -1 on this page. Then I'll add the first image element. And then I'll copy the stuff from the end of the page, like here. And now we've got something that we can display. So here's our first cut. Now I need to put a little extra space above the page title and between the page title and the content column heading. So I coded this just above the page title and as the first line in content column. P, class equals narrow, non-breaking space, end P. Which says I need to add a new style rule for narrow up in the style element. So I add dot narrow, line height 2 pixels, font size 4 point into the style element. I use this technique often when I want a little space. It's simpler than creating lots of specialized style rules for different spacing scenarios. So now we see this. Now the spacing is fine, but we have to address the picture. To get that snapshot look, we need to add some padding and make sure the background color is white, then add a simple border. So try dot Polaroid. Padding 5 pixels, background color white, border 1 pixel, solid, hashtag BF. And then add this class into the image element so it looks like this. And this now displays this way. Well, it still doesn't have that cool shadow. Some reading leads me to the box shadow style property. Technically, as of this writing, box shadow is not part of the standard, but it is a candidate recommendation and is currently supported in all major browsers. The formal definition is here, https://drafts.csswg.org/css-backgrounds/#box-shadow. An element can have multiple box shadows, but for our purpose, we'll specify a slightly simplified version. Box shadow, length 1, length 2, length 3, color. A length 1 is horizontal offset of the shadow. Positive values give shadows offset to the right. Negative values give shadows offset to the left. H2 is a vertical offset of the shadow. Positive values offset a shadow down. Negative values offset a shadow up. Length 3 is the blur radius. 0 means no blur, a sharp line. The larger the value, the more the shadow's edge is blurred, and negative numbers are not allowed. And color is any of the standard ways to specify a color, the color of the shadow. Again, some trial and error leads me to box shadow : 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 5 pixels, hashtag AAAAAA, which is a darker gray than the BFBFBF we used for the border. So now the Polaroid class looks like this. Polaroid, padding 5 pixels, background color white, border 1 pixel solid, hashtag BFBFBF, box shadow 10 pixels, 10 pixels, 5 pixels, hashtag AAAAAA, and our page now looks like this. And so we have the box shadow. Great. An interesting site with many examples of box shadows is here, https://get css.com/css-box-shadow-examples. If you click on any example, and the box shadow value is used to create it, is put into the clipboard so you can paste it into a notepad page if you want to see what the box shadow options are. Now this site is selling a product which I think is a little pricey, but it is an interesting source. Here's a quick example. Here we are on the site, and you can see it has over 90 samples of box shadows. And if we choose one, let's say this, and click on it, copies the content of the clipboard, and then you can get a notepad page and paste it, and there's the box shadow definition used to create that particular example. Before going any further, I want to address an issue I've just let slide. The links box is too high on the page. We're looking to have it about halfway down the picture. Our classic approach is to just add some blank lines at the top of nav boxes, and this helps the links box slide down the page. So now let's add the text after the picture and see how that works. Not too well. Now, the reason the text is following the picture is that the box model simply flows down the page. To change that, we need to specify a class for the picture that tells the browser the picture is to float left, and then the text can be adjacent to it. So I created pickLeftNat. Not sure why I added the nat, but it's in lots of code, so I'll stick with it. .pickLeftNat, padding left 5 pixels, margin left 5 pixels, float left. And looking a little bit ahead, we'll want something similar for the pictures on the right-hand side of the page. So I have pickRightNat, padding left 5 pixels, margin right 20 pixels, float right. So now we change our tag for the first picture, image class equals Polaroid pickLeftNat, and the rest is the same, and we see this. Notice the text almost being overlaid by the picture. To fix that, we'll set up a style rule for image elements to provide some spacing. Maybe image, border none, margin right 20 pixels. And that solves the problem. Oh, I just noticed we need to add the last update line at the end. So after our div class footer and our copyright, we'll add last update mmdd 20xxbr. And that produces this screen. So now we're ready to insert all the remaining text and pictures. So we'll walk through that briefly. Here is the second picture with the kimonos and its corresponding text. And then the third picture with the golden pavilion. And then our final information and the end of page. And this produces the target that we've been after. Now remember to update the last update line each time you make a change to this file. Notice how often I added blank lines into the code. This was done on a trial and error basis to get the vertical spacing I wanted on the page. In this session, we demonstrated building a new page based on an existing page by copy and pasting chunks of lines from the existing page into the new page, and then making any changes needed and adding any new content. We also introduced the box shadow property and some techniques for displaying photos. Note that the final version of the code example is in your Advanced Web Files directory as 1tij.html, and the related images are found in the /images directory there. Coming up, in the next lesson, we will explore a major facility for reusing code, server-side includes, that will help simplify the process for creating pages with similar structures, and that also helps you to access information about a page, such as the last change date, and to display it. See you there.